Wow.
Hello. Hello and welcome to Open Minds UFO Radio. I am your host, Alejandro Rojas, and I am here with my good buddy, Martin Headset Willis.
Yeah, headset this week. You can
Yeah,
hear me
people.
though, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Yeah.
You can hear me?
Yeah, all good.
Okay. I think people will be slow to come in because I only created the live stream just a few minutes ago and only notified it peeps just a few minutes ago. So, oh well, here we go. Anthony Roca Recco came in. Thanks, James. He says, "What a week," and he's exactly right.
Yeah.
It has been a wild week, so we will get into that. But first, I just want to say hello, welcome back, Martin. How you doing?
Everything's good. Everything's good. You can see I'm not in my regular setting. I'm in a house down about an hour away from where I live, working with a bunch of stuff. Yeah. So I don't know.
Doing
Stuff.
your thing, your antique thing.
Yeah, that's right. Wow.
Cool. I think
Nothing
it's an
great
exciting
over that
job you
side.
have.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not you people if Martin looks fuzzy and stuff, his connection's a little less than normal, but that's okay. You look fine. We can hear you just fine.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yep. I guess let's get into the news. First of all, the big news. So we kind of talked about this, and it's kind of funny, and I'd love kind of your overall impression. In fact, we haven't talked that much this week. What is that? Somebody coughing? But there is all this buzz about big news coming. I have been critical of UFO Twitter for blowing it into something that it was not, making, for some reason, saying it's world changing, all this other stuff. I tried to clarify what it was more about, and people got mad at me for being mean to poor little UFO Twitter, even though they were making stuff up. So, and then it's funny because then the news comes out and UFO Twitter is like, this isn't what we expected. Well, of course, because you made up, your expectations were ridiculous. You made them up. It was all fantasy. However, the news that did come out, I think, is big news personally, and it's about as big news you can get in the real world if you're not living in a fantasy world.
Yeah. No matter, it's very much like when NASA had an announcement that they were going to make, and we had to wait for it. And then everyone was speculating, oh my God, they found life. Like we can all go in that place where we can picture something really amazing, like the UFO landing on the White House lawn or something,
Yeah. And I think that NASA was even worse. People are being critical of the guys who released the news, Tim McMillan and MJ Benaez of The Debrief. Micah Hanks also working with them on that project. I interviewed them both this week, and we'll get into that, the things that we talked about. But that, they've really, I don't feel, hyped up their story that much. NASA, in your example, hyped their story up way more than it was. And it was a major letdown because it was really not much. At least in this case, there was something significant. And the gist of what they discovered was that the UAP task force had created a couple of reports that they distributed to the intelligence community. The intelligence community got really excited about them because it included a lot of credible information about UAPs that opened people's eyes up, including a couple of incidents with photos. One in particular being an shocking event where there's a triangle UFO, and the photo is taken from the cockpit by the pilot in an F-18. And that was an event that happened in 2019. The other event, being less exciting, happening in 2018, where the photo was taken of an alleged cube-like object. Then the day after the Debrief launched this, on the second that the story about this, just yesterday they launched another story where they actually shared the photo of the cube-shaped object. A lot of people aren't impressed. Some people think it's a Mylar balloon, but still, and I hope it's not. If it's not, I think that could be a major issue, undermining the credibility and the judgment of the UAP task force. But The big news is that, everybody's taking this so seriously. Most of the people that he talked to remained anonymous. The Washington Examiner confirmed that their story was accurate. Brian Bender interviewed Luis Elizondo, who said, yes, he was aware of all of this, and it is accurate, true. And that's, I guess, where we are. The Hill also covered it. They didn't really vet it themselves. They just kind of covered the news about it, which is interesting. Fox News covered it, I saw. But I put Fox News in the tabloid section because their accuracy is about as good as, the UK tabloids, which we complain about. So their accuracy was a little off. To be honest, the Hill's accuracy was a little off, but at least they corrected themselves, actually. And it's interesting. They took the story pretty seriously.
Well, when you say Lou was aware of it, didn't this happen? I mean, wasn't he out of the program in 2017?
He was out of the program in 2017, but this has created a huge buzz inside of the intelligence community. Those who have asked, which include the Washington Examiner, Tom Rogan, Brian Bender, and of course the original Tim McMillan, those who asked the DOD about this, Susan Goff, essentially, who speaks, is the closest thing we have to a spokesperson for the UAP task force or anybody, said those reports are classified. She's not going to talk about whether or not they exist, anything that may be included in there. That all the work that the UAP task force does is classified. Their results are classified. So essentially, she's like, I'm not saying anything. So we don't have any official confirmation. However, the intelligence community as a whole it's gone viral. So even people who aren't officially in the intelligence community, may not even have classification status anymore, are aware. So, for instance, Bob McGuire, some people may be familiar with, a scientist who works with Skyhub and some other things.
Oh, yeah.
He had confirmed he had seen the picture and was aware of it. In fact, he created quite a buzz when he kind of dropped that bomb on Grant Cameron show, I guess, a day or two prior to the article coming out. And I think we talked about that. And so there are others who were aware. And of course, Lou has really strong ties still with the people, his colleagues that he used to work with. And that's been, what's made it difficult for him to share information is that he has sought to maintain the relationships that he had while he was working there. And he is a patriot and believes in what he did and what his coworkers are doing in intelligence. And he is trying not to rock the boat too much. But of course, him coming out with what he did has definitely rocked the boat quite a bit.
Yeah. Now, this picture, this is not the same picture that was talked about that's coming out of the water, right? This is a different one. It is.
Yeah. No, and you're exactly correct. And let me bring up the picture. So there's been a couple of things that I've clarified that have kind of come to light about this image. In fact, this is the actual image you could see here, and it's the top of their article on the deep brief, and you can see the object. If
hard to see.
If I do this, can you see my cursor?
Yeah, I can just barely see it though, but yeah.
But yeah, you can barely. In fact, it's covered up by the M in Tim's last name, McMillan, and that's about the size of it, the size of this M character. So you can't see it there, but they did include in the article a zoom in.
Yeah.
But there has been some information that's come to light, and I will enlighten you all on that.
Really? Okay.
Here. Yeah. So there's a picture. You can see the object. Just
that's better.
Dot there. And I think it's important to note that this is what the pilot saw. So, or the Navy, and the navigator actually in the back seat is who took this image. So this is how they saw it. And they apparently, according to the interview I had with Tim, must have flown around it and probably taken a few pictures of it. They said it remained stationary. There's a zoom in of the picture. So, Keith Basterfield looked at the metadata and he saw that this was taken on an iPhone in 2019. Tim has since clarified and said that actually this is a photo of a photo that Tim has. That's why it says 2019. Is that the
Oh.
so this is a photo of a photo. Some people have said, how can this be a photo of a photo when it's such high resolution and so clear? But that's what Tim said. Another thing that has come to light is that this photo was shared. At least one person on Twitter had tweeted me and others and said, "Hey, I tweeted this photo out in 29 May of this year, and nobody cared."
Huh.
And he did. He
Huh.
did tweet that photo. So that photo he tweeted, though, was very low resolution. It looked like a photo of a printed photo.
Oh.
So it could be someone who had a printed copy of those UAP task force reports and took a photo of the object on those and then released it. So that's kind of interesting. The other thing is that so those are the things others people have said, and I guess I could look it up. A lot of people feel this is a balloon and that it looks a lot like this Batman balloon that is out there. In fact, I can look for kind of some imagery. I don't know that. I think it's tough. I do see the similarity, but I think the issue is here's a quote in here that I think is important. Boo, 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 boo. Right here. So we had some people look at it, including people who work with weather balloons, and they said, no, it's not a weather balloon. But they weren't. And essentially, here's this quote from the article, which I think is important. While they did not describe the photos the photo as compelling, referring to the one we're just looking at, all three officials we spoke with seemed dismissive of the idea that it depicts a balloon. According to these sources, the photo would not have been issued if there were reasonable estimates that the object was a balloon, given the nature of the intelligence report in which it appeared. So their point is that this was an intelligence report from the UAP task force, that these cases and the information in the report had been vetted, that they were representing these things as unidentified, that they couldn't, figure out. And so these people are saying there's no way, these guys would have put it in the report if there was any indication it was a balloon. So I think that's an important comment that's in there.
Yes.
I know people are saying looks like a balloon. Someone's saying a bat balloon. I think a lot of people are convinced that it is this balloon. But I don't know. I think that I'm still on the fence. I think there's too much we don't know. It would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, another thing too is, people may assume that the, triangle UFOs fly in an aerodynamic way, which there are many cases where they've flown in odd ways, moving forward. So this thing could be moving forward up on its end like that. It doesn't make any sense, but people have said many times that they've seen, reactions with these things traveling in weird ways.
Yeah, someone was asking, and speaking of movement, and it's interesting, someone just asked, how fast was it moving? 0. And that's what's interesting about it. And this is one of the reasons they feel it wasn't a balloon. It was completely stationary. So, and there's two aspects. At first, a balloon likely would not be completely stationary, given the winds at that altitude.
Yeah.
Also, that a balloon wouldn't be able to fly that high. That balloons, people are estimating this to be tens of thousands of feet in the air, and
Really?
Mylar balloons cannot fly that high. Some people have argued, well, if you had it partially full of air, first of all, why would it be partially full of air if it was a kid's balloon? I guess if it's old or something like that. But also, it's a lot higher than these sort of Mylar balloons can float, according to the information out there. So people have made that comment. Dirk had an interesting comment here. He says, my cat looks exactly like a mini panther, doesn't make him a panther, which is a really good point. I mean, we don't have all of the data on this sighting to be able to, I think, make a strong statement. Now, and given And this is the other problem. People are trying to analyze a photo that is a photo of a photo.
Right. I'm just
Um,
wondering about the resolution of the original.
I know. I think that's really interesting because the original must be much higher resolution, and the original probably can reveal more. In fact, some people have argued that when you zoom in on this, and let's try that actually. Let's say if you zoom in on this, um, that a lot of people are using uh, things to fix the picture, or essentially where you can try to clear it up and stuff, but that also distorts the image, and that the distortions make it look more like a balloon. So I don't know, it's hard to say. I think that we can't necessarily, I guess I could say I'm not jumping to any conclusions at this point.
Has anyone that you know of reached out and spoken with Mark D'Antonio, what his thoughts were on this?
No. But again, Mark's going to say it's a balloon. I know Mark
I
well
know,
enough.
Mark. I know you are.
And he's
I know
essentially
he
going to
will.
say, we can't prove that it's not.
Yeah.
And right, given a photo of a photo, we certainly can't prove that it's not. So we don't have enough data. I think I don't think that, we just don't have enough data yet to make that determination. But I think, people are getting really worked up about this photo and everything. And there's a couple big takeaways, I think. The one big takeaway is that the UAP task force is, and I think this was in question until now, that the UAP task force takes UAPs more seriously, especially unidentified, than we had previously known, that they feel they have more data to demonstrate there are genuine unidentifieds out there, that they're not ours, they're not theirs, they don't know whose they are. And I think that's the really big takeaway. And he also talked about how, very high levels of the military were briefed on all of this. He even has this memo from one general essentially telling another general, hey, you got to get briefed. You got to have this briefing. There's some really good info here. And this is the type of information that the Senate Intelligence Committee has gotten. So there's a lot of compelling information out there that is convincing people and making them think twice about, this topic. And I think that's the most important takeaway. On the flip side, if this does turn out to be a balloon, that's going to be a major problem, I think. That's going to call into question any of the conclusions that we've seen thus far from the Navy. But
speaking of the Navy, it seems like it was about the same time, possibly, that the photo was taken, that the Navy came out and said that they were going to look more seriously into UFOs. It could be the similar timing.
That's true. That is a very good point because, the other photo, let's go look at the artist rendering. If the debrief site will work for me, they've been getting so many hits.
I know they keep
their
crashing.
Site keeps going down. But it looks like might be working right now. It's trying, people. Go website, go. You can do it. Debrief. So let's see while we're waiting. Oh, here it comes. Here's an artist rendition of the other photo. Here's that memo where, it's from this Navy admiral to an Air Force general. Hey, I recommend you take this briefing. Some good stuff in here, dude, including this image here, which is this image, and is allegedly, you can tell in the other image, is taken by the navigator in the back seat, and this is an artist rendering, but it's accurate in that it's the pilot. Isn't it kind of crazy that these guys are flying these jets, these F-18 jets, and they're taking pictures with their phones? I mean, it's dangerous enough for us on the road, but cruising hundreds of miles an hour in an F-18 and you're taking out your phone and taking pictures. Kind of funny.
Yeah, I don't know how those. I wouldn't think there would be an autopilot per se, but there probably is something that will keep it steady if you let go of the stick. I would think, maybe, I don't know.
So let's see. What device was the pilot using? We don't know. Um, Somebody is asking or saying that you can bench press 300 pounds 20 times. Is that true?
Who's that?
I don't. The Midnight Piper is saying, I don't know but much, but I do know. What I do know is that Martin can bench press 300 pounds 20 times. Is that
I don't like to brag about it, but
wow?
yeah, yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah. It's
Uh,
yeah.
Canoodles also mentioned the Balloon Boy. That was an interesting one. I think that was in Colorado, and I was living, or was it? I was living in Colorado at the time. But do you remember that? There was this UFO balloon this guy launched, and he called the authorities and said, "My kid crawled up in that balloon, is in floating in the balloon," and everyone was terrified.
Oh yeah, I see. I
Everyone was
remember
glued
that.
to
Yeah.
the news. Are they going to save the kid? What's going to happen? The thing eventually runs out of air and lands, and the kid's not there. And it turned out to be a hoax. The kid was in the house the whole time, and this guy is like some kind of publicity stunt.
Isn't that funny? Then there was some
Yeah.
guy that went up in a chair, or no, a couch with a whole bunch of balloons. That was bizarre. Did you ever see
Oh,
that?
what was a couch?
Yeah, he went up with a
Oh
couch.
yeah. I think he was suicidal or something too, and I think he survived though.
He did, yeah, as far as I know. Yeah.
So this guy, someone says that the F-18s have an autopilot. So interesting.
Huh, how about that?
Let's see. So those are about
I
the
talked
extent of
to
the. Uh-huh.
I talked to a pilot that flew an older F-18. He was telling me that he would hear click, 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 and that was the gallons of fuel or pounds of fuel. Pounds of fuel that was the thing was burning. It's so instantaneously burning the fuel. It's amazing.
Wow. Yeah. As those things fly. So there's that news. I mean, let's see. What did I learn from MJ? And I don't know. MJ kind of alluded to he wouldn't confirm whether or not he had seen the reports and the photos, but he kind of said that he's hopeful other news outlets will cover this and potentially release the other photo. I guess that would be great, and I think that's a possibility. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I did talk to Greenwald a little bit about this. He doesn't seem too confident he'll be able to find something, but he's trying. But eh, like you mentioned before, Elizondo is not even officially in the intelligence community anymore, but he was aware. It seems as though, because to be honest, I did confirm this with him prior also. It seems as though he had seen the reports, and Bob McGuire also was shown at least a photo. So it seems like people on the peripheral of the intelligence community are also getting leaked this information. So it's possible these reports and or photos may be leaked at some point.
Well, that would be really great if we get to see the other one with the thing coming up out of the water. I mean, that would be fantastic.
Well, and I think they just got the photo, but they're reporting that the thing came up out of the water.
Oh, but
Um,
still, I mean, to have a clear photo like that.
oh, I know, of a triangle.
Hmm.
Yeah, I talked with, of course, David Marler, who's excited about this
Yeah,
news. He wrote the book on triangle UFOs, excellent book. David Marler is a bad mofo in
he
my
is.
book.
Oh yeah,
He's awesome.
yeah.
So that's some interesting news this week. I guess what else? This is interesting. Danny Silva reported this. I don't think he included where this event took place, but Susan Goff was answering questions, and apparently she was asked about the UAP task force and whether or not Kamala Harris had been briefed since she's a part of the Senate Intelligence Committee. And they said no. Susan Goff said she hadn't been briefed. Someone else had mentioned that it was kind of strange for her to say that because usually they don't comment on what, they leave that to the to the politicians to comment on whether or not they've been briefed or not. But she said Kamala Harris hadn't been briefed. But of course, we do know Marco Rubio and Mark Warner, the two heads of that committee, had been briefed and have come out and said they found it very compelling and they take the issue very seriously. Marco Rubio going so far as to say he hopes they're aliens because it's going to be scary if they're Chinese or Russians that have this sort of technology. So that's kind of interesting, I guess. I think it leaves it open for media to ask her questions, or even us to ask her office questions. Hey, you weren't briefed, but are you aware? Have you talked to Rubio or Warner about this issue? What are your thoughts? I think that would be interesting.
Yeah. And when is the report is due? Within a few months from now, right? Or is it in the spring?
Well, the bill has only just now. It should be probably the spring, because a bill, from what I understand, the verbiage is as soon as the bill passes, that's when the clock starts for the 180 days they have to submit their report. The bill has been approved, I guess, in the House and in the Senate, I think. But it's got to go to the president. The president has been threatening to veto over a separate issue. And I think it's over the election stuff or something. I can't remember. He's threatening to veto if the DOJ doesn't look at the elections or something like that. I can't remember exactly. So he may veto for other reasons. So that's kind of where we are now.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So, but regardless, Dean Johnson, who I highly, highly recommend people follow because he works in this arena, and legislation can be extremely difficult to understand the pathway of how this all works. And I rely on him also to clarify when I write about or speak about this topic. And he does have another tweet string he did this morning, a thread to explain all of this stuff. And let me look him up real quick. Here he is. He is D. Dean Johnson. So at D. Johnson. So the letter D and then DEAN Johnson. That is his Twitter feed. Highly, highly, highly recommend people follow it. He gives us updates on this on a regular basis. You know what else he does? He really hates Lazar, the whole Lazar thing. He'll often post rants about Lazar too. But I gotta say, what he posts is totally legit, and a lot of information that people are either not aware of and unfortunately aren't covering, and it is valid information regarding Lazar. But yeah, he gets really worked up about people perpetuating the Lazar thing. And of course, you and I are skeptics as well.
Yes. And how do you spell it again? D. What? I'm going to just pull it up myself here.
D. Dean Johnson. Let me
D. Dean. Okay.
Bring him up on the screen for people. D. Dean Johnson.
Got him.
Got it. Let me bring him up. So yeah, so that's what's been going on. It was really great. Interesting enough too, MJ Benias, he didn't tell me this, but he did write. Here's what he wrote. Isaac Coy, who does a great job, analyzing photos and stuff. He was like, hey, this picture looks like a balloon. MJ Benias wrote, as I mentioned on Alejandro Rojas's podcast, either weird stuff is going on or the intelligence infrastructure of the United States is populated by crazy people. Both scenarios are scary. I'll just report the news and let UFO Twitter speculate. But for the record, I'm Batman. It seems like he's alluding that he thinks it's a balloon too.
Huh.
So that's kind of interesting. And that causes a lot of problems if he's right. Major problem.
I mean, is there a definitive way to find that out? I mean, if you could find a Mylar balloon exactly that shape, I looked at all the Batman ones I could find, and there wasn't anything that looked close
Well,
enough.
there is a Batman one that looks really close, and I will get that for people as well. Damn it, let me just do this. Sorry, guys.
It's the one where he's down on his knee or something.
No.
Oh, a different one. Yeah.
Is kind of his cape is out. And that's the key. His cape is out, so it looks. That's what gives it the that look. But I'm going to share this so people can see. I think that it is that important that people follow Dean Johnson here. So here he is. He's a cyborg, actually.
Oh, I see that. It's got a patch or something over. Yeah.
So cyborgs are like really smart. They're deadly. They can be really deadly, but they're also really smart because they have like these computer brains. But there you go. There he is, and he's writing about it and what have you. Let's see what he's writing, huh? He may have that. There's the image. He's talking about Kamala. He's essentially saying it's not surprising. She wouldn't have been briefed. Not everybody goes to every briefing. They may be busy, what have you. But
Yeah,
he's got a lot of
easily.
really great info. Yeah, she's a little busy right now.
Yeah.
Getting ready to be what has been traditionally the second most powerful position in the world, but U.S. has kind of been downgraded lately. So it might be, I don't know, what would you say? It might be like the 6th or 7th most important position now. Hopefully we can correct that. But
well,
let's
if
see.
we don't learn not to be divided, we're going to keep dropping.
Don't be divided. Here we go. Here's I just put Batman UFO in Twitter, and I'm getting some stuff. Let's do photos. Are you guys, is this still shared? No, let me share it. You guys can see what I'm talking about. And we'll see what you think, Mr. Martin. Put on your analytic skills here. So here, that's not it. But see, these are some of our buddies. Here's Crew Cut. Started all the problems. So Crew Cut, and I'm just kidding. If you're watching or listening, Crew Cut, you're great. But he's the one who was watching my interview with James Fox and live, and he's the one who asked, "Hey, is there, is there some stuff coming forward that you're looking forward to?" And James said, "Yeah, there's some big news coming, real exciting." And that's when UFO Twitter went crazy with it. And hey, look. That's a picture I took of Jason and Maureen when we went. What?
What was the side-by-side pictures you just thought right there? Yeah. What is that?
This is just someone pointing out that this is the actual picture. When you zoom in, it's pixelated. When you try to sharpen it and stuff, this is what it's doing. And this makes it look more like the Batman balloon. So he's saying it's distorting. This is what the data we have to work with, which is very little. So when you try to adjust that image, you're distorting the image, and the image distortion is looking more like the Batman balloon.
I see.
And I think he has a good point. In fact, look, if I just do Batman balloon, you'll see there's some stuff here. That's pizza. Joyce, she's a follower. She's great. See, everybody's talking about the balloon. Here's people fighting over it. Look at this. The Batman balloon fiasco is tearing UFO Twitter apart. Look at that.
Wow.
I don't know where this is. This must be at the UFO Twitter headquarters, and people are just beating the hell out of each other. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. Wow.
I kind of like it, though, because UFO Twitter really frustrates me. But here's a balloon they're saying it's like. So see these ridges and the V on the top? And there are some people who have done a really good job making some GIFs that show it more closely. What the hell is that? I don't know what that is. But here's another balloon. I guess someone is saying, well, it could be this.
It looks like the side of it, like it has a border, almost like it has a border on the side.
Yeah.
Like a.
Here we go. Here's a similarity type thing.
And then on the other side, it's all silver.
Yeah. No, I don't know. It's probably yellow, or it's probably the same thing. Typically, these balloons have the same thing on both sides.
Hmm.
So
Well, definitely the shape is pretty close, isn't it?
The shape. Well, again, like that person just mentioned, this is the adjusted image. So when you adjust the image, for instance, it makes this look spiky here, whereas the real data, that could be more rounded and smooth. We don't know. But yeah, I gotta say, it is. There are similarities.
Yeah, but also if you look at the side, you can see what I mean by there's like a border on the side. It looks like it could be like a 6-inch border or something if that's the
around
scale.
this.
Yeah,
well, I think that's a halo due to the sun being on that side, and so you're having a reflection here. So I think this is reflection. But you know what? Reflection also. We should probably even just stop analyzing because this is so amateur. I'm totally amateur analysis. But
yeah.
I gotta say, this reflection here represents, I think, a larger body than what we see here. I think that the reflection wouldn't be as much on a balloon of this type. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And Ad Astra saying the unsharpened image looks like it has an edge on it. And let's go look at that again, because I think that's a good point. So there's a balloon. People get it. And then if we look at that one that you wanted to look at, which is, I think that person is making a great point. Here. This is Reddit. The dude who's in charge of Reddit, who's been really active on UFO Twitter lately. Here's what they're talking about. Look at that. That could be more square-like. In fact, look at the top, how flat it is compared to what the adjustment does to it. So given this data, this is an estimation. This is a guesstimation by the computer of this data. So I think that this is really what we're looking at. Does that look like the balloon? Not as much. Not as much.
It's so pixelated. It's just so hard to tell.
But that is the data we have. And remember, this is a photo of a photo on top of all of that. So I think we got to quit freaking out. I think that if somebody could, anybody watching, if you can get over to UFO Twitter headquarters and say, hey guys, settle down. We just don't have enough data. You don't need to be beating the heck out of each other.
Yeah, I know. Look at that.
Look at
I don't see them wearing masks either. Wow.
That's a really good point. If you're going to be involved in a brawl right now, especially with the deaths and the COVID going crazy, wear your mask,
Yeah.
If you're a gangster, if you belong to the Jets or the Sharks, wear your masks. If
it's
you're
very hard to social distance in a brawl too, Really tough.
I like this Joyce. She's really cool. Oh, look at that.
So let me just ask you this, Alejandro. Is any more information known about that particular image? Like, for instance, was there anything on radar, any other data to go with that?
I can't remember for sure.
Like if that showed
photograph. Here, I'll read here. The photograph, which is said to have also been taken from inside the cockpit of a military fighter jet, depicts an apparent aerospace vehicle described as a large. Oh no, this is the other one. Boop 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 boop. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't say. So we don't know. All we know is this is interesting too, though. All three officials agreed that based on the photo, the object appeared to be at an altitude of roughly 30 to 35,000 feet and
Wow.
approximately 1,000 feet from the jet fighter. And someone had posted this, and this is funny actually, that there is a website called Balloon HQ. And at Balloon HQ, they actually have information about this sort of thing. How high a balloon? Oh, here we go. Like how high these balloons can float. And they say, only a few thousand feet. And everybody's saying that. Even the higher estimates, some people have said like maybe 20,000 feet or something like that. So it doesn't make sense that something could float that high. So we'll see.
Wow.
We will see. It must have been on radar. Someone is saying we don't know, but yeah, there's a whole report. There's a lot of information, and the thing is, and I think this is a really big point, that the data that the UAP task force has, whatever that data may be, led them to believe that this is unidentified, that this is something they could not explain. Oh my gosh. Karen leaves her phone here. Okay, I don't know who that was.
That's
Hopefully
Bob
that wasn't
Seger.
Ford. Yeah. But I do want to look at real quick. Yeah. So really interesting things going on there. As far as that UAP task force, pretty exciting. Also, I think going on right now, don't leave because of this. Joe Rogan, it might be over already, but James Fox and Jacques Vallée are on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll show this picture that James Fox sent me last night. It's fun to be able to share all this.
That's going to be a real boost for James' film for sure.
There we go. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not the biggest Rogan fan by any means. I had said that and people got mad at me, but here's that image of them all together.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
So, yeah. And so that's fun. That's good for James. It's a great documentary. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully well. Let's see. Yeah, so that's what's going on. What do you got?
Well, I've been, busy working away here, but I also have been getting a ton of email about, before this whole thing, before the 30th, was it the 30th or December 1st when that website launched?
I think it was the 30th.
30th, yeah. People were sending me email as well, just saying, what is it? What is it? You must know. And, all that. And as I remembered, you actually cautioned people to, don't get carried away. It's not,
Did they listen?
Big.
No.
But also I still hear people saying this is going to be a huge, 2021 is going to be a huge year for UFOs. Maybe it will be. I don't know. It's hard to say. We've been hearing similar things for a long time.
Yeah, I know. And this is what I would caution people as someone who's been in this field for a very long time. When I first got into this, there are people saying it's right around the corner. It's right around the corner. Some of those people who have said that over the years or who have expected that have passed away. They're gone that I used to know. But some of the wiser people, have been like, in fact, it was John Schuessler who helped found MUFON, who was kind of a mentor of mine, who said, you know what? I used to believe that. He's like, in the 70s, I thought when Carter got in office, we would find out so much more. And he's like, I just got over that long ago because everybody's always saying disclosure, all the answers are going to be revealed tomorrow. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And it never comes.
From the beginning, because I watched an old documentary about UFOs in the 50s. And there was an old guy there saying, I just hope I learn the truth before, I pass on. It's like a lesson to learn from that,
Yeah. on this website. So those of you who are watching on YouTube, when we're done with this, search our YouTube channel, and you'll find for Steven Spielberg video that I have, and it's a Spielberg video that I found and held on to, and it disappeared from the internet. So we posted it at Open Minds, and he's being interviewed about Close Encounters. This is just after Jaws, and he's talking about his new upcoming, and it's great. He talks about some UFO sightings, stuff like that. But it ends with, the timing of my movie is perfect because we've just elected President Carter, and he had a UFO sighting, and he says he's going to reveal everything. So I think we're going to learn all this new information, all the way back then in the 70s. And of course that didn't happen. So I would say this to people: don't get yourself excited. There's no reason when a James Fox or somebody comes on my show and says there's big news coming, temper yourself. It's not, I don't mean to be cynical, but maybe you should have some cynicism a bit, and don't blow it into something huge and that it's not. People were like, why are you getting mad at UFO Twitter? They're just excited. It's one thing to be excited about something might be happening. It's another to make up false, assumptions and push false assumptions about what that news is going to be, because that hurts. This article, for example, a lot of people are like, keep saying, oh, this isn't the smoking gun it was supposed to be. This isn't, that great of news. It is great news. The only reason you all thought, and I don't mean you, my audience, but you, those UFO Twitter people, the only reason you thought it was going to be more is because you either blew it out of proportion and made stuff up, or you fell for the people who were making stuff up instead of listening to the people who knew, or the people who were actually writing the article. So just don't do it. Don't expect disclosures around the corner. This has nothing to do with disclosure. What has been disclosed hasn't been some disclosure coming from, higher ups within the government. This disclosure has come from Luis Elizondo, who had to retire to get information out, and the whole To the Stars and Bigelow team, who has been looking into this for decades and who have been trying to get this information out. And now they're being met with some success due to Chris Mellon and others having experience and the intelligence to, engineer all of this coming out. And because John Greenwald kind of gave me some trouble on Twitter a little bit, and we were even joking around with each other this morning about it. Yes, they had to bend some rules, or I'm going to say they did bend some rules, and they felt they had to bend some rules. Chris Mellon has admitted to me in my interview and what I wrote about when I wrote the article about Chris Mellon's plan, that he had to bend some rules. Elizondo definitely, they bent some rules. Bigelow and Harry Reid bent some rules to even make ATIP happen, or the original project OSAP happen, which was, having to do with the Skinwalker Ranch. They did, but look at the results. This is the results, all of this that has happened. Will there be more news? Definitely. Like you said, that report coming forward, that's going to be interesting. Hopefully we'll have more leaks about these UAP task force reports. There'll be big, interesting news coming forward, no doubt. And in fact, we haven't heard really much from Lou or Chris Mellon lately either. And I'm guessing that they're definitely working on some exciting stuff. I think Chris is really working on making sure that those reports that we get from the UAP task force that are public facing are as comprehensive as possible. And he's using his influence for those sort of things. And probably both of those guys are doing that. So, I mean, just don't, and I would advise also, dump the disclosure term. It's gotten to where people are invoking the term disclosure almost like a religion or something when they don't know what it is. Almost like, bless his heart, Giorgio Tsoukalos with aliens. It's like, if we don't know, it's got to be disclosure. And the problem with that is, oh, look, UFO information is coming out. It's got to be disclosure. This is part of the disclosure. What is that? That's just made up goofiness that doesn't even mean anything. When you actually dig, like Tim McMillan and MJ and the guys at the debriefing did with these articles this week, or some of the stuff Danny Silva's put out some good stuff this week. That's actually digging into what is really going on here. Where is this information really coming out, and how is it coming out, and why is it coming out? It's not some big disclosure. It's a lot of people like you and I who are interested, and I mean all of you who are listening, a lot of us who are interested, who are trying to get this information out and trying to do our best to, educate the public and pry information out from the government and from the people who are in the know. And certainly, projects that I'm trying to work more closely with, like SkyHub and us at the Scientific Coalition for UAP Research, we are working on, I think, exciting things that will hopefully get that done. So, and you can participate too. Either get involved with SCU or SkyHub or anything else. You can actually purchase material. They show you how for free to build your own SkyHub, and they'll even help you to build your own device to monitor the skies around your house. Or you can get a hold of your politicians, because that does help, guys. Get a hold of Susan Goff, send her an email. Send your politicians email saying, I want to know more. I want to know what the UAP task force is up to. They're over here telling us nothing. And in the meantime, we've got these major media outlets confirming that the UAP task force wrote these reports and they have these images. We want to know more about that, and we deserve it because we're the American public, and we paid for we paid for these multi-million-dollar jets these guys are cruising around in. So we want more information. We pay the paychecks for the UAP task force. We pay Susan Goff's paycheck. So we deserve and want more answers. And that does work. It really, really does if we all do that.
Right. Well, it's interesting. I think you talk about disclosure. That's something I hesitate to use as well. But there are some people that say in this field that say, well, disclosure has basically already happened. It's like, it's been moving forward for a long time. I think, is getting the government to admit that they're looking into the topic is probably as close as we'll get right now. I don't know.
It's a really good point, and we don't know what they know, and it seems as though, at least for many, that in the intelligence community who saw these reports, this was news to them. They were, and we have to remember that even the people who are insiders, like Chris Mellon, or I've talked to Jim Semivan, who worked in the CIA, who's also part of To the Stars. They said people like Powell Hellyer, the defense secretary, who's into this topic in Canada. Yeah. And they all said they never ran across any information regarding this topic in an official capacity while they were working at their government jobs. They had personal interests and they sought information as a hobby on the side, but they didn't receive that. They never came across that sort of information. Adam Kehoe, who I had on, kind of as the guest last week, in his recent article, even had Elizondo admit, they had not ran across. He was aware of a project prior to ATIP that is secretive, that he couldn't get access to, and other research going on, but nothing like, the secret off the record programs that people assume exist. That none of these guys have actually been able to confirm anything like that actually exists. So we don't know how far, how deep the rabbit hole goes. So we're all learning together. And beyond that, and this has always been the issue, I felt as a public, we can go ahead and move forward and get information ourselves. And I think the guys at SUU, for example, the Nimitz report, the Aguadilla report, these really great UFO reports on these interesting UFO videos, you can go to explorescu something or other.
Is it .org?
I think so. .org. I always forget the last. And get those reports, and it's really good stuff. And of course, Jacques Vallée's got incredible stuff. James Fox's new documentary, explored and demonstrated a lot of really good stuff. So, Somebody's asked.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, two things before I forget. To your other point about disclosure in America, Mark, my buddy Antonio Huneas always said this, that America disclosed way before, that a lot of people have this illusion. And I think, and it's true, and there are UFO luminaries who say this all the time, and it is completely false and inaccurate. They say, other governments like France and the UK and have released their UFO files, and the Americans are the only ones who haven't. That isn't true at all. I mean, go to the FBI website, the FBI Vault, go to, of course, Black Vault, John Greenwald, CIA. The American government has released thousands of files on UFOs, thousands and thousands. Of course, we all feel they haven't released the best stuff, like these UAP task force reports, and that's probably true. I think they haven't released the best stuff, but they have released a whole lot. So have they released it all and the juicy stuff? No, but they have released a lot. And so it's inaccurate to say they haven't released anything.
Yeah, I know you can go on like the FBI website and look at UFO documents right there, which is pretty interesting.
Exactly. So Ad Astra saying Rogan has a massive platform. It's good for the field, regardless of how you feel about him.
I agree.
Yeah. And that's what we're saying. Yeah, I agree with that. So I don't listen to the show, but that's a good point. You know what, though? Right now, this will be controversial. I know. Should I even get into it? I'll just say this. There are certain shows in the mainstream media that I would not go on, to be honest, just because I think that the information is just that has been shared is so corrupt. But so here's a question, and I don't know if you know the answer to this. I really don't know what Canoodles is referring to here, and I feel like I should. He is saying, how does Hal Puthoff fit into the Sapphire Energy Project?
I'm not familiar with that.
F-I-R-E. Yeah, neither am I. I'll look into that, Canoodles. That's an interesting question. Somebody's asking if I can speak about the SCU projects. I don't know. I guess there's just a lot of different work being done. People looking at USOs. That does remind me of one thing. Robert Powell of the SEU. Didn't you have him on, or you're having him on?
I just had him on a few days ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe
he talked about the research. Yeah.
And also he talked about his new book.
Right. His new book for between 7 and 12-year-olds, I think it's geared for, but it's he is so, the way he laid that book out is really great. He did it for his grandchildren because they wanted to know more about the UFO topic. Basically, tidbits of the story illustrated, and then where can you go to get more information, kind of to lead someone into it. Yeah, that's it right there.
There you go. On Amazon, $6. Yeah, there it is, $6. And the truth about UFOs is scientific perspective, and it's for kids, actually.
Yeah.
There's actually been a couple calls. Hopefully it wasn't urgent. If those were urgent calls she missed, she might come out here. She might come out here and beat me.
Yeah.
And you guys will catch it live on video.
We only got a few minutes left to the show, so you might make it.
Yeah. I don't want to. I would rather you guys see it so that I have some evidence for the courts.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Rogan has a healthy curiosity. It's on YouTube. Oh, Sapphire's on YouTube, Canoodle said. So I'll look at that. Dirk, remember Rogan explaining Proud Boys were just fun-loving, normal, safe people? That's a great point. That's one of the reasons I don't like this guy. But and there's a lot more where that came from. But can't access the podcast on Spotify. I know a lot of people have listened. Puthoff is part of the review team for Sapphire, the Sapphire Sun. Interesting. I'll have to look at that. I don't know what that's about. But yeah, Robert Powell's got this book out. So there you go. Do you know who will be in the next SCU conference in Huntsville?
Well, that's going to be what, 2021 sometime?
I do know. So we're working on this right now. We did a survey to find out if people wanted to do a live conference in late summer, if they would feel comfortable enough because of COVID, of course. And we have no idea what the COVID situation will be then.
I'm optimistic.
Me too, because it's sounding like we may all have access to vaccines by late spring.
Right.
So hopefully we'll be able to do some face-to-face. But we were also looking into doing a live stream like we did with the UFO Congress. And we've still got to talk about it. It seemed like people were really into the idea of doing both, a live and a live stream. That does create more work for us, but I think that's kind of what the group would like to do. So that's probably what'll happen. But this is what's really cool. Why so many dislikes? Am I getting a lot of dislikes? I don't know. Probably because I'm bashing UFO Twitter and saying I don't like Lazar. Who knows?
No, they don't.
People
they don't like Bob
sensitive.
Seger.
Oh, they don't like Bob Seger is why. Yeah, that could be too.
That's it. Yeah.
But whenever you speak the truth, people don't like it, right? I could make a bunch of stuff up, but that'd be lame. But where was I headed, dude? What was I talking about? Oh, SCU. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for saying this.
Uh-oh.
But our keynote. So remember who our keynote was at the last live conference? Were you there? You weren't there.
I wasn't there, but wasn't it Kevin or not?
No, Kevin was there and he was awesome. Kevin Knuth, who you're talking about, Dr. Kevin Knuth, the physicist. No, it was Lou Elizondo.
Oh, okay. And someone's saying that Chris Mellon's going to be next.
You just stole my punchline. Yeah, you're exactly right. Chris Mellon will be next. So that's really exciting. We have been doing, and we do have one coming up this week. So I guess I should plug that. So we're going to have Rich Hoffman of the SCU talking about, the sort of material, how to investigate UFOs, essentially. That's going to be Monday at 4 p.m. Mountain. Martin helps us out with those. So Martin and I will be in the background hosting Rich Hoffman for the SCU on the SCU's YouTube. We'll be doing a live stream with Rich Hoffman. So essentially at the SCU, we've been doing these live stream videos you can go see where people are kind of summarizing and talking about the topics they were going to speak at the conference last year, but it was canceled. So we're still going to bring all those people back to talk about these topics more robustly in a live setting for the next conference. So essentially, the people that we are doing these live streams with and the people we had scheduled for last year when we had to cancel, those will, for the most part, be the same speakers for next year, which is coming up. Who would win a fight, Lazar or Greer? There's no doubt Greer. I mean, Greer is a lifter. He's all buff. I think that's who they're referring to about the 300 pounds 20 times.
I think so too.
Yeah. They got you mixed up with Stephen Greer.
Too sexy for his shirt. Yeah.
Both guys I've met. Lazar's a skinny guy, a little guy. And you know what's interesting is I could see them getting in a fight, actually.
Yeah.
I could see them being at a conference together and getting in a fight. So
Greer is pumped up.
Here's a question, and we'll see. I would love to hear your answer, and I'm going to let you answer first. Does the current UFO community have little interest in the many abduction experiences? This is coming from Eve.
I think there's definitely a crossover for sure. But I think there's a lot of people that question the amount of experiencers that there seems to be in this country. I think, I do hear that as feedback, but well, that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, I would say for me, and I'm getting you guys the link too for the upcoming video with Rich Hoffman. Here it is. And I'll share this in the chat with y'all So here's where you can join me and Martin hosting Rich Hoffman. Rich has been doing UFO work since he was a little kid. He was like on
That's
Phil
right.
Donahue, I think, when he was a teenager.
Yeah.
With UFOs. So there's the link. Let's see, Rich Hoffman live stream. I'll say this about abductees. I would say there's still an interest, but I certainly don't cover it much, and as much as I used to. I may have a friend on who wrote a book recently, just because I think he's a good dude, Craig Cambasso, and I want to ask him. What do you think? Actually, I was in a documentary not too long ago with Richard Dolan was in it. And about abductees. I think it's interesting. I think it is something that should be legitimately researched and investigated, that the mainstream should take seriously when hundreds of thousands of people, and I believe that the number's at least that long, believe that they're having these experiences, then it should be researched. Why don't I talk about it? Because there's not research out there that's being done. It's really difficult, if not impossible, to verify whether or not any of this stuff is real or not. Here are the two problems: that there's not physical evidence. I know some people will say, yes, there is. There's been implants. None of those implants have been seriously analyzed to show something mysterious. Bless his, rest in peace, Dr. Roger Lear. But the guy that he had looking into it to do his science is just not credible. I've worked with him in the past, and everything's nanotubes. And of course, allegedly these have nanotubes. Here's the other problem: is that the messages are not consistent. Let's say, at the UFO Congress, there's always, abductees, contactees. When they relay what they believe or what they've been told, they're all saying something completely different. And that's a major problem. There isn't that consistency. There are some bits and pieces of consistency. And also a lot of the major researchers have tainted, I think, the research, namely those, or particularly those who do not have experience or degrees in, let's say, in psychology, to understand that. So, I think it's an area ripe for research, but it's just harder to research than other areas. And I hope one day, and if I can be help encourage and inspire some real investigation into that arena, I definitely would like to do that. And I do keep it in the back of my mind because it is something that I think is important.
Very well.
I believe in Travis Walton. Yeah, there's people like Travis Walton. I think that's a great case. The
Calvin
Allagash
Parker,
guys,
Allagash.
Calvin Parker. Exactly. There are some really great cases out there that seem very mysterious and have a UFO part to it with multiple witnesses.
Right.
So I agree.
Yeah.
When are you going to bring someone to speak about how to improve the obsolete field of investigation techniques? Hoffman, like I said, is going to be talking about that at the SCU, and the link that I just posted. And then also, I would say, I think I had an interview with Steve McDaniel on Skyhub, but maybe I'll do some more Skyhub stuff. I think Skyhub's doing a really great job in figuring out how to kind of move that forward, to move that sort of investigation forward. So there we go. Anything else you wanted to share, Martin? I guess we ought to wrap her up, huh?
Yeah. I'm freezing here.
Really?
Yeah. I've had to have the heat off so I can talk to you. And
yeah. And are you still in Maine then?
I'm in Maine, down along the coast.
So it's got to be cold, huh?
It's freezing in here.
Yeah. So, and it's been chilly here in Arizona.
I know, probably 78.
No, actually colder. Well, it's even been chilly in the house. It's been colder than that. And then I was down in California, of course, where my home is, not long ago, and it was chilly there too. I've been avoiding people as much as possible. Uh, Otherwise, kind of, but yeah, I guess the last thing I will say is go check out my Rojas reports that are right here on YouTube with MJ Banias and Tim McMillan. I think they're really important. These are the guys of the hour. They're the ones that are releasing this big news that everybody's excited about. And it is big news. And I think that, that MJ and Tim are great. Their heads are in the right place. We talked about why and how this is big news, the significance of it all. They revealed some kind of behind the scenes on how this all came about, including their new website. So do go check that out. And those videos are only going to be free for a few more days because I do put them into the membership area of this YouTube channel after a few days. So go watch them later today if you want to see them without charge. But I would also greatly appreciate it if you did click the join button. That's either there or there or there. I don't know where it is. If you're watching on YouTube, click that join button. And for a couple dollars, you'll have access to all of my Rojas reports, which includes lectures that I do, analysis, and also all of my interviews with all of these people, several interviews with like Robert Powell, Tim McMillan, Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, all kinds of people. So go check all that out. Otherwise, check out Podcast UFO, which is every Tuesday. Do you want to plug where they can see your stuff?
Yeah, it's just there every Tuesday live at 6 p.m. Eastern time. And I have Melanie from the Berkshire's UFO coming up this week. If anyone watched that on Netflix, I thought it was fantastic. So she's going to be on it. Should be an interesting show. And I just want to say this. If you do join down below, you turn green, don't you? I see like unidentified.
Oh, you do. That's a really great
Yeah.
point. Those people in the chat who are a different color and stuff. And I should say thank you because I think I saw
Thank you, Lou.
somebody just join. Yeah, thank you,
can't
Louise.
find her. It was
yeah, she was like all lit up because she had just joined, and I should have said
I don't see her either. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. She probably was like, he didn't even say anything. So Green Boy Clue. But yeah, I will post this here, but I was going to say also that we do have, I think, what is probably one of the best videos. And I say this because it was a group project on the Allagash, because I had worked hard over the years to interview and find all the guys related to the Allagash. And I've got them in a video. I'm just posting their link right now. I should post what it is before I.
The most intriguing one of them all, in my opinion, is one of them that I did not speak with myself, and that's Jack. His story is incredible.
Yeah, and he's got health issues and everything, so he's hard to get in touch with. So check that out. And I will say, I've said this before, but just real quick to end everything, there is a fourth guy who is really hard to get a hold of. Chuck Raz.
Rack. R-A-K.
And there is rumors out there that he debunks the whole thing, but that's not true. I've talked to him directly. He didn't want to go on the record. He said I would be fine if I shared this because he let me do a little interview, but he didn't want to be recorded in any way. And he is really mad at the other guys. He says they're religious zealots, and that's his thing. He's not religious, and he thinks they're over religious, turn their experience into something religious. But he confirms he saw the UFO. All of the UFO stuff, the UFO over the water, when they're fishing, coming at them.
Yeah.
All of that really occurred. He says, yeah, I was there. I saw all of that. He just said when they tried to regress him, he didn't recall anything. And he doesn't believe they were abducted. He's doubtful that any of that sort of thing happened.
Wow.
But he did confirm the UFO portion of it.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
All right, so that's it. Thank you all so very much. Thank you, Martin Willis, for joining us once again. Thank you to Caleb Hanks for the opening and close music. And that is, yes, Micah Hanks' brother, who Micah Hanks is part of the new debrief thing. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you to Karen for being in the background and providing the Bob Seger music.
That's right. Yeah.
Once in a while.
Bumper music. Yeah.
He has some bumper music there. And I hope to talk to you guys next time. So until next time, adios.
Adios, muchachos.
muchachos.